Hello, welcome back to New Rockstars Debrief. I'm Erik Voss, and joining me today are Sam Bashor.
Hello.
Maude Garrett.
That's my name.
And we have a special guest today, Ben Bateman. He's a super host himself. He's interviewed Avengers actors, and you may know him from Schmoedown, Collider, tons of other stuff. Welcome, Ben.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Ben.
Well, guys, it's been a huge week in Marvel news, right? We've had all kinds of stuff coming out between Captain Marvel and Avengers Endgame, but today we are talking about the breaking news. James Gunn is back as director of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And we're also going to talk about some of the other stuff that we've seen this week, some deleted scenes from Captain Marvel, a Game of Thrones theory about the Night King, Marvel's new What If show on Disney Plus, and a, quote, damn near perfect DC movie in the pipeline.
No one's ever said that before.
And don't forget that you can also find this episode as a podcast. We actually just crossed 1,000 subscribers over on the Himalaya app. So thank you guys very much for supporting us there. And you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. But we, of course, appreciate it if you went through Himalaya because they help us out in other ways. But all right, let's get started with this big news that just came out today. This morning, in fact. Friday morning is when we tape here, and that's the return of James Gunn to direct the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. That's what we heard today. Apparently, Disney was impressed with his apology and basically changed their minds on the decision they made before. They've been having meetings, it sounds like, for a while now. There were some rumors about back channels that were going on, but eventually it all got worked out, and they announced it today that he's coming back. Now, whatever your feelings are about this, I think most of us would agree that this is good news for the movie and for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It had been postponed until who knows when. I heard that it was coming out originally 2020, but was pushed back to 2021, and now potentially 2022. Ooh. Feige has said really it's just been shelved for the time being, but maybe he was kind of biting his tongue waiting to announce this. And none of our favorite alternatives were willing to touch it about, what, like we were talking about maybe Taika Waititi would be a good fill-in, but he decided no, he did not want to direct this movie. So it looked like they didn't really have a lot of good backup options. And it was too much of James Gunn's baby. They were going to use his script. It's his story. A lot of the cast rallied around him, especially Dave Bautista, who's very vocal about it. And I think it sounds like he did write the first two movies of this trilogy. They were his soundtrack. It was in his voice in so many ways. So it makes sense that he would come back. And this would be the first time a single director has directed a trilogy within the MCU.
Should have done it with Star Wars.
Yeah, wouldn't have been bad. So here's one crazy wrinkle in all this, is that while James Gunn and Disney were on a break, I guess we can say, Gunn committed to writing and directing Suicide Squad 2.
Awkward.
X's
meeting.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. A crossover. Now they're very familiar franchises if you think about it, right? Both redemption tales of the ragtag motley crew who have to go on some mission together. Now both of these franchises are going to have the same writer-director. The same auteur is going to be the visionary behind both of these. And we're hearing that the plan is for James Gunn to shoot Suicide Squad 2 and then move on to Guardians 3. So it sounds like he's still doing both. He doesn't have to pick between them.
That sounds like an ideal situation if you really think about it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm super on board with it.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, though. It's going to push Guardians 3 back from its original release date. So how do we think this is going to affect the story of the movie? Do we think it's going to change the timeline, or is it going to close some doors on where in the Marvel timeline, or open up some other doors, maybe to do a prequel?
Really quick, when I say ideal situation, I mean for him. Like it sounded like he was on top of the world and then it got pulled out from under him. Mm-hmm. But obviously, and some people can see really good talent where it is. And there is a little thing called redemption. And not all of us are the same person we were 10 years ago. So that's kind of something. But at the same time, like he's working for the enemy. And they're allowing it, and they're prioritizing it. So that's kind of like if you're James Gunn right now. He's been through the ringer
a bit, yeah.
It's a good place to land though, after you stumble and fall.
And also, I like that they're waiting. Like David Yates, when he was directing the first Fantastic Beasts, and he was also doing that Tarzan movie.
I'd rather see Fantastic Beats.
Mm-hmm. And where to find them? Yeah,
in the garden.
Spotify or SoundCloud. Oh, see the different beats.
Yeah. Oh my God, they're so fantastic.
But in that same year of the first movie, that he put out that Tarzan movie too, and it was like, oh wait, no, it's okay. He directed both in the same year, and you're like, what? And then both movies kind of reflect that it was somebody who was very split. So I'm glad, like, give it a sec. Let the MCU kind of reshuffle. Like, you have your What If and your What If shows and your Disney Plus shows coming out that are tied to the MCU. Just like, let's see what other things organically kind of pop up. You have your Eternals movie coming out as well. I'm glad, like, give it a break. Let Suicide Squad 2 be what it's going to be, and then come back for the finale for Guardians 3. And it's kind of like a cool stamp at the end of this, like, this phase of Marvel, the Marvel universe.
Epic story.
And the story, yeah. Go out with a bang.
I think that if Suicide Squad 2 and Guardians 3 actually come together, their current production schedules, there's no disasters, and they're both even halfway decent, I would be blown away. Yeah. There's zero chance in my mind that happens. I think that the big weight on them announcing this deal with him going back to Marvel is probably that the DC was just like, look, you can announce this, but we need a little more solidarity out of you to make this project seem legitimate first. Yeah. Because Suicide Squad 2 has been such a disaster to this point. Mm-hmm. I mean, a friend of mine was with the guy who was going to direct it before, Gavin O'Connor, and I knew a guy that did a draft of the script. In fact, at this point, 2 people, and not from Gavin, but just the writers that have gone in. It's like, draft of the script goes away. Draft of the script goes away. Wow. They can't figure out what to do with the movie. So hopefully he comes in and he knows exactly what he's doing, and that movie can just be awesome, because I would love to see DC have a win. But I don't know how I feel about that movie at this point.
Do you know what I don't want to have happen is that being a director of a Marvel movie is the same as not being able to land an Oscar host. It's like, it's such a great job to be able to do, but because you have a lot of spotlight on you, it's like then for the internet to kind of go in and delve in and try to destroy them. I think we need to get over that real quick, or we all need to collectively delete our histories.
Right. I mean, I think it's a bit of both, right? I think we have to both watch ourselves and go back and try to be sensitive in what we say if we're public figures. But I think it's also like we can probably tame down this watchdog culture and expecting everyone to be ideologically perfect in all stages of their lives and to not allow redemption. And you would think, especially with Guardians of the Galaxy, how important the theme of redemption and coming back from your mistakes. Like, they all have red on their ledger. They all have, their criminal records printed on their prison uniforms. And that's just something that's part of all of them. They all share in common, but they all find some common humanity or common whatever race that they all share together, because they're all aliens. They're not even the same race. Can find that connection and fight for mutual goals. I gotta be honest, guys. I'm a little frustrated that I feel like we've been brought through the ringer on this. It shouldn't have been even a narrative at all. Like, I love that we've been able to talk about it as far as like having something to talk about, but it's just like, it's annoying that this was a controversy to begin with. It's annoying that like there had to be like a hero's journey for James Gunn rather than just like let him do his thing and make great movies in production just because of, whatever dumb political forces in the air. It's something that we have to deal with.
I think
I get you.
The best part about this is the example that Disney's setting here, though. We live in this moment right now. People use the phrase a lot, the culture of outrage we live in, right? Where something can take off on Twitter and the world will go nuts for a day or 2 or 3 or a week. And people can lose jobs.
4 days usually.
Yeah. I mean,
from my experience.
Right? Like, it populates the online conversation, and companies very often will feel that they need to make a decision. They need to make a show when that happens, to right or wrong, to send a message. Disney is as big as it comes. So when that happened, it was like, we have to do something, because if we don't do something, people are going to think we're not paying attention. It's nice to see that they decided, you know what, we can make another statement. We can say, over a year later, we've looked at this, we've decided this guy deserves a second shot. We're not going to let tweets from 10 years ago, no other evidence, no other proof, make our decision on this, and this guy deserves a second chance. It sets an example for people, and I think that's important.
I think, if we can use the Star Wars analogy here, where it's Darth Vader was basically like the most evil person in the galaxy for majority of his life, and then he does one good thing at the end, and everyone's like, yay, he's redeemed himself. It's like, yeah, can we apply that?
Just don't do a trilogy of origin stories with James Gunn.
There you go.
We don't need to see where he came from. Well, I mean, I gotta be honest. Also, like, it's crazy that this happened in the same week as we had Captain Marvel do considerably well at the box office, an Endgame trailer, a surprise Endgame trailer, a lot of us felt, followed by the day after on a Friday this announcement. Like, I don't want to encourage conspiracy type thinking other than our Marvel Theory videos, but it's
until we do it.
I mean, one thing, if you go back and watch, Philip actually brought up in a past video that Disney might be doing this by design. Like, the moment Disney fired James Gunn, that might have actually been a suspension, and there were back channels this whole time. You're gonna lay low, we'll detach you from the project, and then there will be like a hero's welcome later on after we change the narrative after a really successful week.
Then they would have paid him for exclusivity. I don't think that they would have planned or foreseen him working for DC. I think if there was ever an intention to bring him back, they would have stopped that from happening big time.
Maybe.
So they let him go, and then he got snapped up, and they went, whoops. Oh dear.
Well,
Come
maybe,
back.
yeah. I mean, we don't know the details of his contract. You see what I'm doing right now is conspiracy thinking. Like, we don't know. We don't know. We don't know.
We can speculate.
But getting back to the question of this idea of how this could affect Guardians 3, it sounds like they were still going to use the same script anyway, even after it's detached from the...
Which feels like it would have been framed in a world that was pretty much immediate after Endgame, but now since it's going to have to be pushed back, let's call it like 2 years, maybe 3, maybe 4. Like, it's crazy that it's going to take so long now to get that movie out since they were so ready to go last year. They feel like they have to kind of revisit and see where all their characters are at.
It's so intertwined though at this stage. It's just so tangled. So to have to pick it apart and like push it back, I don't know.
Is it possible that they may do a prequel? Because there was like a 4-year gap between Guardians 2 and Avengers Infinity War when we picked up with them. Star-Lord got some different facial hair. Groot grew up a little bit.
Oh, so like the end story is he's like, so the end story is Infinity War or Endgame.
Right,
that's
right.
the end of the story.
Hulk smashes into their windshield, and that's the end of that story. I mean, the stakes are lower because we know everyone makes it out alive, but then you just introduce another character. There's some other kind of goal they're trying to accomplish that you're worried about.
There's a lot of daddy issues that they could keep exploring there with Gamora and with Star-Lord. I mean, he kind of killed his dad, huh?
A little bit.
Can I ask you guys, if you think so Guardians 2 has that weird distinction of being that movie that like everybody really liked it when they walked out of the theater. Like, we all liked it. I laughed. I mean, seriously, I thought that movie was great.
We never saw it again.
It's like the 13th or 14th best MCU movie by most people's lists. Like, it's pretty close to Captain Marvel by the people that didn't like Captain Marvel. Is Guardians 3 gonna do better than that? It's like the Guardians 2 is so similar to Guardians 1 in its tone. If 3 is the same thing, like, what's the point of just not doing something like a prequel? What's the point of doing another movie that feels so much like 1 and 2 if it's, I don't know, it just feels hard to win there, right?
Yeah, I would love a reboot in a sense that just takes 2 or 3 of the characters and makes like the way that Thor Ragnarok was, a sort of buddy comedy between these 2 characters. I would love to see an offshoot story where it's just like Groot and Rocket. You know, you don't have to bring any live action actors.
Something different.
I honestly I like the way they've kind of explored Gamora and Star-Lord, but we don't know anything about Rocket, like, whatsoever. We don't know where he came from. We don't know where Groot came from, and we want to use Adam Warlock. That's going to be a big part of the story, since that's a genetically engineered creature, and so is Rocket, and we don't know where Groot's from, and so like there could be a really cool like parallel between those characters of someone who is so perfect. Adam is supposed to be space Jesus. He is supposed to be the example of what everything could be at one point, and then showing Rocket, who was an experiment, who turned out like that he's constantly in pain and he's always angry, and it's like, and he basically no one takes him seriously, and they can't even like name him right. They're like, no, he's like a rabbit, or he's like a rat, or a squirrel, or a monkey, or whatever. And it's like no one takes him seriously. And there could be a really cool story of exploring that, and it could be a good final chapter where it's like Star-Lord's story's kind of done. Like, basically, he can be there to support his friends and whatnot. But I would like to know more about those Guardians.
You know, he needs to be in that real bad.
Yeah.
Howard the Duck.
Yes.
Yeah.
What happened there?
He's been on the peripherals.
He's getting his own
First
animated
2.
movie
Like-
or show.
Yeah,
Right.
show on Hulu. Yeah. We'll have to wait and see. I'm just glad that we're finally closing the book on this whole like James Gunn story, at least hopefully. Because I remember when the news broke, that was the episode where I was hosting this show by myself, and you guys were all at Comic-Con.
Oh, yes.
And it got real weird, and it turned into like Pee-wee's Playhouse, where I was like talking to Baby Groot up there and
Oh, dear.
doing voices. I kind of lost my mind. So that is like where I broke,
Dark
and
times.
now the loop is closed, and I'm fixed.
You're back.
And we're back on the normal
Yay.
timeline.
There we
Isn't
go.
this great? But let's move on to our trivia questions.
Please and thank you, gang. You know, this time of the show, it's my favorite. It's my third favorite, probably, but right now it's my favorite. This is the time where I'm going to ask you guys a trivia question. Our hosts are going to try to do their best to get the right answer, and whoever gets the right answer is going to be able to do our outro today. But the loser, the absolute failure, which is usually
Which
me,
is a
is going
7 out of 10.
who's going to have to pull from the GIF of Shame box that was beautifully made by whom's?
Travis Cadle.
Thank you so much. All right, so go ahead, get ready. Here is your trivia question. There's always been controversy associated with the creation of Batman. Many credit comic writer Bob Kane, but some would argue blank was the true creator of the Caped Crusader. So who was, in some people's eyes, the true creator of Batman?
Okay, all of our answers are here in the bucket. We'll get to the answer later in this episode. But real quick, we just wanted to take a quick second to thank Audible for sponsoring this video/podcast episode. Audible has an insane selection of audiobooks, including Game of Thrones, which we're going to start talking about in just a bit. Also, coming up on my list is a book called Batman and Psychology, A Dark and Stormy Night with a K, that I'm really, really excited about. Audiobooks are just a great way to learn something new while you're at the gym or you're in a waiting room or cooking or
in
driving.
Traffic.
Yes, commuting,
that's when I listen
cleaning.
to it.
Just like some of you guys are doing probably at this moment as you're listening to this. I love reading, but it's hard to dedicate time to just sit down and read a book or sometimes string words together to form sentences if you got a bad education. Audible solves that problem. It just keeps me from falling asleep in traffic. So thank you for saving my life. And to get started with a 30-day trial, when you go to audible.com/rockstars, again, audible.com/rockstars, audible.com/rockstars. A lot of us are learning to read right now.
I'm just about to finish my third book
job.
this month.
Oh, what are you reading?
Weird flex, but okay, Maude. Sarah J. Maas's The Masses of her novels.
Very
but
cool.
Sarah J. Maas with 2 A's. If you like fantasy, she's good.
Oh, speaking of fantasy and sci-fi, there's a segue for you. Let's talk about Captain Marvel. It's out, and a lot of people have had a chance to see it. Chatter Online, and the Chatter Online is focused on what people didn't see, deleted scenes and concepts that didn't make it into the final cut of the movie. So some people have pointed out scenes from the trailer or promo images that never happened, like these that suggest Ronan the Accuser was originally a bigger part of the film. Gasp.
He is pretty big physically, right?
Oh, big boy.
He's a big boy.
Labeled in the credits as Big Boy #1. For our podcast listeners, there's one image here where Vers is leading the rest of her group to meet Ronan and Yon-Rogg, and another where Yon-Rogg and Ronan the Accuser hang out on their own. Oh, being buddy pals. Just hanging out. Being blue boys.
Moonlighting.
A VFX artist also leaked that there was a scene in which Yon-Rogg, Jude Law's character, meets with Supreme Intelligence, and the person he sees, meaning the person that he respects the most, is, drumroll please, is himself. Which
Of
you
course.
pointed out earlier before we started recording that I think there's a joke about it in the movie that's
She's
the
like, is it
person
your
we
brother?
see.
Is it yourself? And he's just like, moving on.
Which explains why he is so cagey about it in the movie. It makes sense.
Yeah, I love it.
Pretty fun.
Thank you.
And this was more of a deleted idea than a deleted scene, but apparently one idea for a post-credit scene was having we get to see Yon-Rogg landing on Sakaar, which is the planet Jeff Goldblum's character, the
Yeah.
Grandmaster, rules in Thor Ragnarok, which is described as a trash heap in the solar system. But what do you guys think? Did these cuts and changes improve the movie, or would you have liked to see these in this film?
Well, I mean, we couldn't have that little nugget about Yon-Rogg being an epic wanker because it would have revealed who he was as a person. We needed to have a lot more of a facade around him so that twist. Oh gosh, spoiler. Did we ever give a spoiler warning for this?
It's
this
kind of- I
point,
think we
you've had time.
prefaced it enough. You're good. Go
Okay.
ahead. I gave it the
Direct
okay.
your rage at
There's
me.
a twist. And I think it would have not landed that blow hard enough should we have known that information. But I really like that nugget. I think it's cool.
I think it's cool too. I don't know how, it, like narratively, I don't know if it would have meant anything to me specifically.
Who
like,
would you see?
Flash.
Exactly. What?
Or my dog. That would be really
Dwight?
cool. Dwight, yeah. Shout out to Dwight. Give
what
some
would
love in
Dwight's
the comments.
voice sound like? This is too much.
Think of a surfer bro from the 90s and a ski bro from the 90s, and then whatever voice you think of, that's what my dog sounds like.
I would see Maya Angelou.
Wow.
That's
I feel like I got an answer now.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who are you thinking?
I'd see Bodhi from Point Break, Swayze with the full mane.
Whoa. That's who I respect the most.
Yeah.
Maud. Did you see Crocodile Dundee?
Probably a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Ooh.
If that came up to me and it was like, "Argh," and then it was like, by the way, Maude, I'd be like, I will listen to everything you say.
That's true.
It's 'cause I
Fear
just-
is
it's
respect.
on my
It is the
shirt.
same word.
I'm cheating.
There you
but
go.
still, high five.
Pretty cool.
I think it's kind of a mixed bag. I think I will say I probably needed, if I could make some changes, if I could slide up a fader bar, it would be to slide up Ronan a bit more in
Same.
the movie, just because it seems like the promotional material teased that he would be a bigger part of the story. But on the benefit, it left me asking questions and wanting to see more of him if they ever bring him back in a sequel, you know. But I wanted to see more of him than just like one of those Star Wars hollow projector things,
Yeah.
which
Agreed.
is basically his entire role in the
And
movie.
there's one scene where he's like, huh, she's interesting. It's like, what was that? Like, that's so
Yeah.
pointless. He does fire a missile at one point.
Well, the
No,
whole-
I'm going full spoilers for you.
The whole Ronan thing is like, at the end of the movie when she's like, are we just full of spoiler? I can
Yeah.
talk
Yeah,
about
go
it.
for
Just
it.
go
She's
for it.
all like crazy and supernova wild. She's super powerful.
Super Saiyan.
Yeah, Super Saiyan. That's what I'm saying. And he's like standing there, and she's like, "I'm just gonna like fly into missiles and stuff." You're like, "This is not even fun anymore because you're too powerful." And Ronan, that's the only time Ronan's even in the movie, really. It's like he has, I think, one scene otherwise. So it's
Yeah.
just like this whole, like, why was he in the movie? You know, what was
If
the
he
point?
wasn't gonna like
Yeah.
stamp out her powers.
It's
or
the
something.
most popular
Something.
Kree we know from the MCU.
Yeah.
So I get why you'd want to, and he wasn't a zealot before, but then he became one. That's why he has like the military like prowess and everything. I get it. You didn't really need him, and I do like the tease of using him in the future, but we already know his fate. Basically, he's safe if they use him again, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Do you remember last week we were talking about what words have you read, but when you say them, you're like, oh, that's it. Zealot.
Zealot, there you go.
Not zealot.
I spent the entirety of his time in this film thinking myself that he was Kieran Hines, but actually that's just the bad guy from Justice League. And I was
There
like,
you go.
wow, this makeup is amazing. I was like, this is incredible. He did this. This is so impressive. Then it's Lee Pace, and I was just wrong.
There
So
you go.
that was my experience.
Yeah, it's one of those moments, obfuscate.
Yeah.
Can't say it. That's the only one word I read. But you know what? Let's read your thoughts in the comments down below. Did you
Yeah.
want more Ronan, or was that enough?
Yeah.
I
More
vote
Ronan.
enough.
Yeah, it's just you could look at it from a lot of different ways. Whose story was this? It was kind of Nick Fury's story,
Yes.
almost as much as it was Carol's. So maybe they felt like we didn't want another competing protagonist in the story or competing antagonist.
Well, when you had a misdirected threat being the Skrulls, and when the twist happened, I don't think that there was enough of a threat at the second half, especially when she went full
sure.
Super Saiyan. So having him right there, being super powerful, we could have actually seen a little bit more than, oh, now I've got to punch my friend. We're not even friends. Okay, boof, you know?
Yeah.
Agreed.
Anyway, let's move on to Game of Thrones.
Yes.
Oh yes.
Yay!
Please.
There is an interesting Game of Thrones theory going around this week about the Night King's battle plans.
Oh.
Now, it comes from Reddit user u/the_B. They laid out a whole list of predictions for the final season, but we're going to focus on just one regarding the Night King. And this is all speculation. If you don't want to hear anything or be persuaded by any thought process going in, then tune out, because this could happen. Who knows? We're just suggesting things. So this theory is saying that the Night King's army is indeed headed to Winterfell. Jaime has convinced a lot of the Kingsguard to leave King's Landing and join him there, because that's where the threat is. So together with the Northerners, they're going to emerge victorious.
Hopefully.
Yay! I don't see how they're all undead. However, though, the Night King himself will have flown Viserion to King's Landing, which is going to be unprotected, more so because the guards have left to go north.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've seen what Viserion can do with that gob, but it's blue fire. Or is it ice? Was it blue flames? Or is it anyway? Everyone's going to be dead. He's going to convert all of those residents to whites, of course. And then when Euron rocks up with the Golden Company, they're going to be ambushed. They're going to turn into whites as well. And then all the south is going to be the threat. And then it
Bit of a
just
White
doesn't
Walker
stop.
sandwich.
Yeah.
I love it.
Which we saw in the Battle of the Bastards, where he got surrounded as well, but the Knights of the Vale came and rescued. Gosh, I love doing rewatches because it's all coming back to me.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think? What would be more satisfying as an ending to this whole conflict between the living and the dead? The long-promised and much-hyped showdown at Winterfell, or do you think that being taken care of and then moving that fight down to King's Landing would be even better to have that second little twist?
I would love that. I love this Reddit user. It's very cool thinking, because I think while we've been watching like the footage from the trailers and trying to figure out where this is all going to go in these final 6 very long episodes, it feels like a little messy. Like, why is this new army, the Golden Company, coming in this late in the game? Like, it feels too late to have like
'Cause it was
game
late in the
changers of
books.
new. Yeah, but like there's so many other things in the books that they've just let die out. Like, there's all these kind of characters, like
Greystone.
Lady Stoneheart
Yeah.
was not part of it. But it'd be great if like they could simplify it this way, you know, rather than having like the Cersei representing the war for the throne, the conflicts, the political conflicts between humans, rather than like living versus dead. I would love for it to get simplified in this way, if like Cersei and the threat she represents could be co-opted into the Night King's threat. I'd love that simplification.
Well,
the
so
neatness
she
of that.
gets turned.
Yeah.
Oh, and
And she becomes the queen.
But no, she's pregnant, and then the baby could be like a baby Night King. That's a worse idea. Go on with what you were saying.
Well, I mean, her whole thing is to sit on the throne, so she needs a proper king now that Jaime's gone. She's been the queen leading. Oh my gosh, it would really solidify herself at King's Landing. I really like the juxtaposition between the fact that this has always been so summery and warm,
Yeah.
and then it be completely obliterated
even colder
by ice.
than the north.
Even colder than Cersei's heart.
Oh, baby.
Whoa.
Is Cersei cold-hearted enough to allow herself to be turned into a White Walker or a White in
So
order
she
to
can live
maintain
forever
power?
and
She
rule
could be-
forever?
I think so.
I
If
say yes.
If
I
she
say
brought,
yes.
but she could also raise the dead, which are her kids, and be with her kids.
Despite the
And
fact
Sam's got a great Game of Thrones theory.
aren't some of those
Finally.
kids obliterated in the
Yay!
Green trial? Like, that
Uh,
wildfire
yeah, yeah,
must
yeah.
have
One of
singed
them-
up some of them.
One of them got smushed this way. One of them died with poison. There's enough for them to come
Okay.
back.
Oh, yeah. Where is the crypt there? Because, half the city did go up.
Yeah, two of the Lannister kids were born underneath that crypt and must have been torched. Along with Tywin, his body must have been torched. If they can torch human body, they can torch flesh. Unless the Night King's white power allows like T2, T1000 pieces to come back together and make a Frankenstein body out of that.
Well,
it's not canon.
Then you get a big White Walker because
Yeah.
they have to so much mass that they
At
become
this
like 500
point,
feet
Power
tall.
Ranger.
I'd believe it.
Yeah.
At this point, it'd be exciting to watch.
I
Pretty
want
cool.
it.
I mean, I'm honestly, I like the idea of just kind of turning it on its head and making I don't know, like a false sense of hope of moving, like thinking that the army's going to be able to take him out at the north,
Yeah.
stop them from going further. But it's like, they already beat you around. They already
What if
passed.
they started melting?
Like a Jack
Because
Frost.
they had to go with winter, but winter's not there yet. What if they
It
literally
is though.
Isn't
It
there
is
a
there.
theory
Oh,
that
it
the
did, it
White
started
Walkers
snowing.
are the source of the seasonal change? Like, they don't normally have a seasonal change in the Game of Thrones universe. It's just these creatures bring this seasonal force with them.
So wherever
and
they
vice
go,
versa.
the cold goes with them.
It's like an animated movie where like a little storm cloud stays above their head, but it's a little bit of winter.
Sam, you
Exactly
said
that.
last year you watched all of it.
All of
correct?
it.
How many hours? How long did it take you to go through?
It all blended together.
You just okay.
It all blended. I think
didn't see it for
I
a
watched it
while.
all in. I said 3 weeks before, but I think it would be probably more true to say 6 weeks. I watched it.
So
all.
because it's each one, right? They're like 52 minutes or so. Some are longer
Oh,
now.
109, I believe, actually considerably a lot. I'm currently on the middle of season 2.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's a commitment.
And that's
to
in
do-
only
to
1
do
week.
the rewatch.
That's 2 seasons a week.
Yeah.
I'm
That's
behind,
a full
guys.
meal. That's a lot.
I should be watching it right now.
You should.
We
be.
should all be watching it right now. Well, I'm
our
excited
duty.
to see, however, whatever twist happens, because the Battle of Winterfell is only happening in episode 3. We have 3 more episodes after that battle happens. So there's going to be some other major final act that happens after that has to be even more compelling or exciting or climactic than that battle is. So I'm excited to see whatever that is. And this is my favorite theory leading into that.
Time travel.
I want Daenerys to be a force
Definitely
of
time
flame.
travel.
You know, she's going to be like, and bring flame. That's what I want.
So
Like
you
Dark
base,
Phoenix.
you just like Dark Phoenix.
Like I was gonna think
Way
like
ahead of
Iron
me on
Man,
that.
Dark Phoenix.
Dark Phoenix.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I want.
Well, another thing that came out this week, we learned that Marvel is planning an animated version of the What If comics from the 70s. You may know those. And they're planning it for Disney Plus, their new streaming service. Now, if you don't know, the What If comics asks what would happen hypothetically if crazy changes happen to your favorite comic book storylines. And in this new version, led by Kevin Feige, he's been the one giving us all the info about it, it's going to be doing the same, but for the MCU, the live-action MCU that we know. So we know the version of the events that the Russo brothers and Joss Whedon and James Gunn have kind of told us in these different stories. These are going to be taking those familiar tropes and turning them on their head in different ways. So an example of one of the storylines, these are all bonkers, but one of them was, what if Loki got the hammer instead of Thor?
Ooh.
You know, what if Odin's son gave it, it was a different Odin's son, essentially. So they won't be canon. The what if storylines are deliberately not canon. They're more of just like thought experiments, but that allows them to be more fun in a way. So the first question I'm kind of curious about is, like, why now for this? Like, why does Marvel think that now would be a good time, in particular, for fans to really want?
Because they've got no more access to properties.
Yeah, I'm honestly thinking like
They
it's
really
like,
are.
what if
Yeah.
X-Men
Fox
were
version.
there in the beginning? Like, okay,
Right.
man, here we go. It's way cheaper. We don't have to pay for
Phase
Chris
4
Evans.
is more what if question. Yeah.
Oh, you might get a little. They definitely have the money to do the theme song at least one time.
Yeah.
I think at this point they're just like swinging for the fences repeatedly, Marvel,
Yeah.
and so it's sort of like we're just gonna invest a lot of money and we're just gonna take as many chances as we can, and if we try 7 and 5 work, that's fine.
That's pretty good.
And like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think What If also represents like so many of, like, I grew up reading comic books and I grew up collecting old like 70s and 80s comics, and these are like literally the quarter comics you'd find at comic conventions. You'd look at the cover and like just the concept was the most interesting part about it. You didn't even really, they were like usually very bad. They usually weren't even, in fact they were never more than one issue. They were like 22 pages of just like nonsense. what if Aunt May had gotten bitten by the radioactive spider?
Yeah.
And she's wearing
Right.
like a spider skirt. And she's
Right.
climbing walls.
It's gonna be May.
Spider-Ma'am. They just rewrote her. They just introduced her. She
Yeah.
is part of continuity now. It's Spider-Ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am.
Spider-Man.
Yeah,
Yes,
she's great.
I love
Also,
it.
like you could do like Spider-Verse crossovers as well. Like they have a character that I would love to see on like any kind of screen called Spiders Man, and it's just a group of spiders that thinks it's Peter Parker and it wears
Spiders
the suit.
Man.
It's an absolute nightmare, but it's great because it always kind of like talks about like eating people, but it's like don't do that because we're Peter Parker. We don't do that.
Was
but
it a hive mind?
It's
Like
a hive mind.
1 million
It's
ants
just
in Rick
but
and Morty.
exactly. That's exactly what it is. It's
that's
so
awesome.
good.
Australia.
Yeah,
I want that. Yes.
I mean, yeah, I think this is perfect because we also just all like they probably reached peak familiarity among like lay people who didn't grow up reading comic books. They all know what Rocket is, or people have seen these people in movies, so you now have something to subvert in a new storyline. And it sounds like the fact that it's animated is a really smart way to go because we saw that work so well. And Into the Spider-Verse, I think people are just much more willing to accept more genre-bending things happening when Spider-Ham is a literal cartoon that looks like Warner Brothers Looney Tunes.
I want to see this like a drunk history. What if? And it's like just wherever the story goes, it's like, all right, animate it. But Sam, you can attest to this. The amount of times where it's like a scenario happens, I'm like, wait, what if? What if it really did? I say it all the time. Like there's any scenario, I'm like, oh, but what if? To the point where I was like, what if? My superpower was every time I said what if, whatever it was happened, we would be so screwed.
It'd be
What
kinda-
if though?
What if though?
What if?
What
So
if?
yeah, this is basic. What I'm trying to say is this is catering directly to me.
Yeah.
But what if it wasn't?
Last two pitches I'd say is that
I hate me.
If
It's
they
fine.
did an Exile series where it's people from all different universes come together and form a team and they go from universe
With
to
the
universe
rejects?
helping out. Oh yeah, in the most recent comic they had a cartoon Wolverine named Wolvie and he would kind of help out, but he never hurt any. He didn't understand violence. He didn't get what the point of it was. It's adorable. He's a
Aw.
cartoon character. He's like Spider-Ham. Really like that. Also.
Where'd you go, Sam?
The worst X-Men ever. It's a character who has the worst luck in the world, and his only ability is that he can explode, but he doesn't come back together after it's one time, and it's like that sucks.
Now?
That
Now? Should we
absolutely
say now?
sucks.
It reminds me of a Family Guy when Meg gets claws.
It goes- they
Not
go
even.
a little bit longer.
And nails
Yeah.
grow just really fast. Yeah. It's like, yay.
I want to see Fat Hulk. Like
Oh,
rather than
yeah.
Bruce Banner getting jacked,
What
he just turns into a
if?
big fat green guy. That's what I was. That's a
Hulk
fun. They
gave
should
up.
do new ones. They
Hulk.
shouldn't adapt the new or the old ones that we're
Hulk.
familiar with. They should challenge themselves to think out, A to C thinking there.
The
and come up with some
Incredible
new stuff.
Bulk.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's probably going to be some of the classic ones too, because like again, you know a lot of like the premises you remember were just like the images. Like I think there's one that was like, what if Iron Man was banished to Camelot? I think.
Oh, yeah,
that's
it
like
would- yeah,
Iron
I
Man was
don't
my.
hate it.
Yeah.
So I remember the images of like Iron Man. He's in like knight's armor. Like I just want to see the cartoon of that. I don't think it'd be good.
He would literally be in his iron
Helmet.
armor.
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with a sword.
Iron Man.
There you
Yep.
go.
He's got
With
a
the jousting.
there it is.
So this is gonna be anime. Are they gonna get like
I love
the voice actor? Are they gonna
I
get
think so.
RDJ and Chris Evans to be
Disney's
voicing
got
these?
the money. Come on, gang.
It's gonna be like when Garfield was voiced by the guy who did the voice of Bill Murray in the Ghostbusters animated series.
There you go.
And then, or no, Garfield, whatever.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
cartoon
Oh, yeah.
Garfield, and then when they made the live action movie.
So Matthew Lillard didn't get voiced as Scooby-Doo, and he had a little bit of a tantrum on Twitter, by the way. Yeah.
So
But they got Will Forte.
They did.
So it's not.
Forte.
So,
Yes.
and that
Just
means
step
Matthew
up.
Lillard's available to be Shaggy in one of these what ifs. Scooby-Doo was a part of the MCU. Bing, bang, boom.
Oh
Him,
my
Man-Thing,
gosh.
Howard the Duck, Wolverine, because he needs someone who sells in there, and that's your.
Let's
that's
get
your pitch.
Lillard on the show.
Yeah, let's get
Lillard
him
should
on
be,
the
we
show.
should put Lillard on the shelf up there with
Not
and
a Shaggy
he'll
action
weigh in
figure,
on
a
things.
Good.
Matthew Lillard action figure. Oh God, I'm having a
Oh,
stroke.
Scoops!
Which of those late '90s, like I Know What You Did Last Summer level Wing Commander actors, do you wish had gone on to be like a true A-lister? Like which one?
Freddie Prinze Jr.
That's the one you wish.
Oh, yeah.
he's the best.
He's the
Freddie
best.
Prinze.
He seems like such a cool guy.
Didn't the guy who plays Senor Foggy, wasn't he in one of those movies?
What?
Who's Senor Foggy?
The Foggy Nelson from Daredevil. He was like the best
Was
friend
he?
character
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the one with Rachel Evans and Freddie Prinze Jr. Which one?
Oh, he was too.
There you go.
She's all that.
She's all that.
There you
He hid in the
go.
bathroom stall and heard of Paul
Oh,
Walker's
Paul
evil
Walker's
plan.
plan. That's right.
Oh
yeah,
wow,
R.I.P.
we're going
about
down
that.
memory lane, but
Who's the best friend that says fall for you, Glen Coco? You go, Glen Coco. Come on, guys. Mean
that's-
Girls.
That's from Mean Girls.
Oh,
and it's-
oh.
Fall
yeah.
for you, Glen Coco. You go,
Oh,
Glen
that
Coco.
guy. What happened to him?
He's doing well.
We got to move on.
With that,
Do
let's
we
move
though?
on to
What if
other
we
news.
Some
did?
other things, some short headlines to get out this week.
In other news, a new Aladdin trailer came out.
Yes.
It seems like people are starting to come around on Will Smith's Genie, giving him a second chance. Twitter has been a buzz about that. We've got Stan Lee confirmed to have shot cameos for Avengers Endgame and for Spider-Man Far From Home. So as well as that intro we saw in Captain Marvel, we're going to see more Stan the next couple
Sounds
movies.
like they just kind of banked those.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Might feel a little weird by the time Far From Home comes out.
Right.
Maybe.
Let him rest.
I'd be fine with the CGI Stan.
Yeah, or
but,
just like he's on a poster or graffiti, like in Deadpool 2. That
like
was
that one.
cool.
Like that,
yeah.
Oscar Isaac has said that Episode 9 will be the definitive ending to the Skywalker story, but rumor has it Disney Plus might actually be exploring a Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic show. So that's kind of wild, right?
So digging into the origins.
KOTOR!
Yeah, there you go.
Guys. That's the best Star Wars video game of all time. And they're going to turn it? I'm so excited.
I like the
This
whole-
is a good thing. We always knew that this trilogy was the Skywalker trilogy, though. So Oscar, come on, more. Give us more
give
than
us
that.
some more deets.
More spoilers.
But KOTOR, oh my god, guys.
DC.
You guys anyone played it?
No, but I know it's good. I know it's good.
It's like on everything. You can get it on iPad.
It's
There's
Hogwarts, but it's Star Wars. It sounds cool. Really bad way to explain
I've not
that.
played it, but
That
you
is
have.
not
I can
true.
see that you've played it.
That is not
months.
true. I know that's not
months.
true.
Other news, DC is planning a Hawkman movie.
Okay,
Yeah,
James.
Come on, guys.
Look at this
it's
guy.
great. It's
I-
Hawkman.
Big
Did you
day.
read those old, like it's Jeff Johns and Rags Morales, right?
Yeah,
Wasn't
yeah.
that the-
Oh, but he has a new series right now. Guys, it's Indiana Jones. Buddy flies. Buddy reincarnates. Buddy's an alien space cop. Basically, they've never known what to do with the character, so they just keep adding complicated storylines to him. We gotta have him. We need him.
So the Hawkman movie will be successful, is what you're saying.
Woo!
But speaking of successful DC movies, Shazam, according to people, is damn near perfect. The early screenings are getting crazy rave reviews on Twitter. I've not yet seen it.
Oh no,
You guys seen
same.
it?
I need to see it.
They're doing a 2-week early screening, though.
Oh, yeah, we can
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
see
There
it.
you go.
Yeah.
Now I missed it. But hey, I don't know if it could be as perfect as Hawkman, but it sounds pretty good.
When
Hawkman
did this
doesn't
love
even
of
exist
Hawkman
yet.
come from?
I didn't have it forever because Legends of Tomorrow kind of ruined those characters.
Yeah,
but
real
recently
bad.
I started reading it. It's Indiana Jones, but he flies, and I'm so on board with that.
Sam's favorite movie in the superhero genre is the version of Hawkman that exists in his imagination right now.
Oh yeah, you
Nothing
can't ruin
can beat
that. That was
Hawk.
perfect.
I say Hawk differently, though, and people make fun of me, so it can't be my favorite. Awkward. It's time for lightning round, though. What we do on Twitter oh my god. It's awkward. Alrighty, so basically you guys will tweet in questions. We theme them each week, though, and if you make it, I'm going to read it out to whoever it's directed to, and we have to do it super, super fast. So make sure you're on Twitter every Friday. You could be on the show with your question. But yeah, we're going to have that clock ticking, guys, so let's make it fast. Sam, you're up. This one's from Micah Amiot. What if? Oh, they're all what if themed, by the way. They're all going to be what if themed.
You should say what if the way you did earlier if you wanted to do your version of the,
what? Yeah. Goose the cat just straight up eats Thanos.
Yes, vote yes. Yes.
Okay.
That or Ant-Man goes inside his eye and they make goes big.
But what if, Sam?
But what if? But what if?
It's a short answer question. Yeah.
Ben at Catherine Bones says, what if you were a billionaire? Would you be Batman or Iron Man?
Iron Man, 100%.
Good answer.
Yeah, no
Or
question.
just,
More
just
fun.
keep fueling those
Less torture.
wars with Eric. We got at Vibehav298. What if I can't say that name? Well, I'll give it a real red hot go. No, what if you have to choose between Cersei and the Night King to sit on the throne? Who would you select?
Ooh, Cersei's made some very bad choices. So I say let's give the Night King a go.
Yes. Maud, hi, at Sky Army 123451. What if Thor and Captain Marvel become a thing? Oh my God! During Endgame, no, it's Captain Marvel and Captain America. Fight me! They should be together.
I caught your joke. You did a gif of it. It was absolutely perfect.
You can't have a ship without a captain. So
Bing
I ship the
bang.
captains together. What? Sam at punchclown_03. What if you were granted the powers of Shazam as a kid? What would have been the first thing you did?
I mean, fly to the moon.
Damn, really?
Yeah, really? How cool would that be? And then when I come back down, I make a giant lightning bolt and I write my name into like a cornfield.
Sam, what being a kid isn't a what if.
No, it's active. It's active up here. Yeah, for sure.
Ben at You see, Joshua David says, what if Deadpool was in Avengers Infinity War? What do you think he'll do, and what would be the outcome of it?
He would make the movie R-rated, and it would make a lot less money. He'd be really funny, and Thanos probably keep him alive for humor, maybe? I don't know. I'm not sure.
Oh, that was nice and fast for lightning. Maude at Ask Per Second says, if Link and Zelda were characters in Game of Thrones, what houses would they be in? I mean, all the houses. I want to do all of them. Link is definitely, I'm going to say Knight. He's in House Tyrell because he's like the Knight of Flowers, really, and he's also Gryffindor. Zelda is a Ravenclaw, but Zelda would be in not Dawn, not
Riverrun?
Dawn. She's a
Riverrun House Tully,
Targaryen. She's a Targaryen.
There you go.
Sure.
There it
There you go.
is. Thank you.
Ooh, really quick, where would Ganon be?
Slytherin,
Uh-huh.
Dawn, 100%. 100. Eric at Weber. I'm done
Same
again.
one?
Yep. Yeah, same one. What if
Hi.
Bruce can never transform into the Hulk again?
No thanks. Because why would you put Ruffalo in the movie otherwise? He's going to keep spoiling the end in press junkets. So no
Also,
thanks.
toys would be so boring.
Yeah. He's only interested for what he can turn into. Sorry.
But
I
he's
like
a
Ruffalo. He's so charming. Yeah, he's a scientist. There's a lot
He's
of
a
scientists in the world.
mastermind.
They aren't all superheroes.
Sam at Alu_616. What if the Avengers could only unsnap 3 team members? Who would you bring back and why?
Spider-Man,
Yep.
Black Panther, Groot.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Because if it
Yeah.
wasn't great,
It's an
I would come
objective
over there
answer.
and have
Yeah.
a stern word with you. Ben, we're finishing this off at the real took 12. What if Endgame is actually terrible? How would that
Ruin
would
your
that
life.
change how Disney would handle the MCU?
No, because one flop, they'll just keep making movies. But it would be the saddest day in the world. I'm so excited. I can't even contain myself for that movie. So if
Yeah.
it's terrible, I wouldn't know what to do with myself.
It'll still be
But
successful.
It's going to be like the end of Lost, isn't it? It's going to be like one of those things where it's 100%. Just let me like it, damn it. Let me, please.
That's
You're going to ruin it for me, aren't
Thanks
you?
for lightning round.
Is it time?
Now it comes the time for our 15-second shout out, where each of us has 15 seconds
I
to
have to
shout
do?
out or plug or ramble about anything we want. Sam, would you like to start?
Oh, I'd love to. Thank you
Is that why you were backing away from the microphone?
A little bit. I
completely?
couldn't think of anything, but I've been
no.
vamping and using up my time. Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I'm in it right now. I love it. It's good giggles. Go check it out. I mean, you don't need. It's popular. Watch it.
Sure. For my 15 seconds, I had been watching 2 series that I love. Pen 15 on Hulu. Super funny. Reminds me of 8th grade. And Big Mouth in a way. And then Russian Doll on Netflix. Check them out. They're both great.
Cutting close.
Okay.
For my 15 seconds, I'm going to talk about the movie trivia Schmoedown. It's this. It's like WWE, except instead of hitting people, it's movie trivia. Sam's been on it. I compete in it. I've got a big live event here in LA this weekend. Check it out, schmoedownlive.com. It's crazy awesome. It's like my favorite thing in the whole world. You'll love it.
You slowed down on the timer.
Shout out to all the Easter eggs that are happening in Game of Thrones that I'm catching now that we're coming to the end. Cersei in season 2, episode 1, goes and threatens Baelish with slitting his throat, and I was like,
Oh, wow.
that's my shout out.
That sounds awesome. Okay, well, now we're going to move on to our trivia question that we asked earlier. We'll reveal the answer to it.
Shout out to not
And remember,
getting this.
the loser who gets the worst answer as decided by our judges will have to join the Gift of Shame Society and draw from this and then act it out in front of the screen. And your stupidity will be turned into an animated GIF that people will share far and wide. Now, if you're listening to us on the podcast, just follow us on Twitter at New Rockstars so you can see whatever the hell we're talking about. So what was the question, Sam?
There has always been a controversy associated with the creation of Batman. Many credit comic writer Bob Kane, but some would argue blank was the true creator of the Caped Crusader. Really like the cadence of that, by the way. It's a good one. Creator of the Caped Crusader. Boom. Devin, good work. From Maude, you just picked 2 names into William Johnson. Sounds like a president, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Billy Johnson. Yes, that's who wrote it.
Like, what name was popular around the 40s?
You were actually... Sorry, go on.
Well, Sam, he's eager for us to know what he said. He said Bill Finger. Bill Finger. That's what he
William
said.
Okay.
Kind of close.
Eric said Jerry Siegel. I see what you were doing there. It's a
Yeah,
good guess.
It's
It's a strong guess.
Superman. That's my strategy. I'll see how it worked out.
Yeah.
Ben says Bill Finger too.
Also
well,
Bill
it
Finger.
sounds like
We're
we might
pointing
have
at the
corners.
Bill Finger. And technically I had Bill in the name just
Well,
so you know.
and
it was a purely
the
coincidence.
answer was?
Well, I don't have the answer sheet.
It's
Oh,
right
it's
there.
right there. It's face up. Bill Finger.
Hey,
Bill
you actually
Finger,
got
thank
that's
you.
that
Congratulations.
happens.
Yeah.
His first
This guy.
time getting credit for creating Batman was in Batman v Superman, and there's a documentary called Batman and Bill, and it's really good. It's on Hulu. I really recommend
It's
it.
literally called Batman and Bill.
It's called
Oh,
Batman and
come
Bill.
on.
You should watch it. It is very,
That's
it's very
homework.
sad, and it's very inspiring as well. So go check it out.
Well,
But we're winners.
congratulations, Sam and Ben, for both winning,
Wow.
co-winning. So between Maude and I, judges who is furthest away.
But got it kind of right with the bit. What if
You had one of the
But
names
Bill-
right.
I had one
She
of the
got half
names
of it.
right?
That doesn't count. Jerry Siegel's an actual comic writer for DC.
But she got half
He
of the
created
name right.
Superman
I
I feel like
and
you
might
were
have
trying to get the
also
fingers. You
probably
ran out of time, so you
collaborated
just wrote
in some ways.
Johnson.
I did. I
'Cause
couldn't
that
quite put my
was-
finger on it, so I
There's-
said
yeah.
Johnson.
There's no debate.
She technically got half.
That doesn't. It's. I could have said Billy.
And you would have been
Batson,
less
and would that have
wrong.
made me closer?
Yes.
Billy Batson. That's a bunch of poor.
That's half.
What if
He
I
said
don't
a
lose?
swear, Devin. You have to bleep that.
All right, but let's keeping track of Maude never loses. This guy, despite saying a real person
I lost
who actually
last
drew
week.
comics in the 40s.
Someone's
Last week.
salty.
I lost. Last
I'm
was the
super
week
salty.
before.
All right, fine. I'll draw from the damn.
Hey,
Yeah.
Eric lost.
I've lost 2 in a row, I
Eric
think.
lost.
I lose in every video when I mispronounce Loudred and Apium in Pokemon videos. All right, so the GIF of shame I will have to act and take this video or take the GIF of this and share it from our Twitter. Here's what I have to do. My thumbs are talking about me right in front of me.
That's
and
not
that's
cool.
what I have to do.
That's
And I'm
not-
just reacting, I guess, to it.
Yes.
All right.
There you go. And while you do that, we'll be doing the outro. We'll split it. I'll go ahead and kick it off, and we'll just read what comes naturally on the teleprompter. But yes, gang, thank you for joining, and thank you for watching or listening to this week's episode of New Rockstars Debrief. I want to thank our hosts, Maude Garrett at Maude Garrett,
Thank you.
Sam Bashor, that's me at Sam Bashor, at Erik Voss, EA Voss, plus our special guest, Ben Bateman at Ben Bateman Media. Now, a reminder, this is available in audio and video form. Videos at youtube.com/newrockstars, and you can get the audio anywhere you get your podcast. But if you have the Himalaya app, you can actually leave comments on the podcast and support the show directly. Go ahead.
Comment, tweet us at New Rockstars. Like this video or podcast, share it around. Subscribe to New Rockstars for deep dives into the stuff you love. See you next week, everybody.
We'll
Bye.
see you next time. Bye-bye. Eric lost. Eric lost. Everybody, Eric lost. Eric lost. You guys.
One of my fingers decided to bend me to the others, so we fell in love.